Blessed weekend to us. I always take this as an opportunity to make a little observation, or I think it is already observable. You know, we may have been unaware that we are practically following what Jesus has given as an advice in coming from this particular gospel reading when it comes to celebrating the Mass. Ngano man, asa man dapita ang unang mapuno og mga tao nga manglingkod sa luyo. Ngano man, we love latecomers. Ngano we love latecomers man? Kaya alang-alang mo sila makalingkod dito nga puno naman ng luyo. So ato sila sa atubangan. No? But anyway, this is just a plain observation, and yeah, it tickles our minds. But today's gospel reading is actually a very important perspective, because this is a long stretch of observations and teachings set in the banquet. Actually, ang atong introduction karon, the first verse of our gospel reading, was the same introduction yesterday. In other words, it runs through, in this episode. And Jesus being invited by a Pharisee, and as I actually indicated yesterday, this is an exceptional perspective of Jesus being always at war with the Pharisees. Ngano man, giimbitar gud siya sa usa ka Pariseo, leading Pharisee pag yun, no? That's why in the Gospel of St. Luke, there is an interesting toning down of what we hear in the other Gospels as Jesus always, attacking or being attacked by the Pharisees. But here, the context of the meal is always a good context or perspective or occasion for teaching. Diba? We also have that experience in the family, no? Kanang panahon nga managtigom tang tanan as a family, that is the time when we tell so many stories or tell teachings. Pero ang problema karon kay lisod na, di naman ta magkadungan gani. No? Mag-iya-iyahay naman lang ta og pangaon. Ang uban naa dito sa dining room, ang uban naa dito sa TV room, no? Yang uban wala pag yun. Okay? And this is a very sad thing to note, because while we are enjoying the meal, okay? Whatever kind of meal we are eating or the meals that we are used to, it's not only the food that we take that matters, but also words of wisdom and teachings, especially coming from parents because of their experience in life. And as children, we learn so much. No muna nga, the meal aspect is always a very beautiful context. And that is also the same thing with the Eucharist. Yeah, we are here for a meal. But before we partake of the meal, there is the gospel. There are the homilies. Sometimes there are the sermons, no? Do you know the difference between the homily and the sermon? Okay, the homily is reflective, the sermon is pagpangasaba. No? Muna nga, moingon gani mo, inighuman sa misa, di magagikan, ani simba ko, unsa may sermon sa pare, ingdaing na dahil nga, wa man to nangasabas, padre? Because of course, people are not really particular about the difference between a sermon and a homily. So also, let's go back to the meal context. Okay, the meal is actually where we partake not only of the graces or the food that we actually enjoy, but we also enjoy each other's company. That is why we have to talk, we have to discuss things, and that is also the same thing nowadays. Walay cellphone unta, no? Walay iPad, samtang nangaon. Kay lain naman ang atong focus, no? So the focus is the food, and that is God's grace, and each other, and the person of each and every one as God's gifts and graces to all of us. And so as we continue with this meal, with this celebration, with this Eucharistic celebration, let us always be reminded of this. That is why our attention is always to the table. Our attention is to what we are praying. No? That's why, og istikto kita kaayo, ato ginuntang kuhaan og signal ang cellphone kayo usahay, mo biya na makadistract. But let us just be so concentrated on what we are doing. Not because that we are selfish, but because we are enjoying the presence of God, especially in this highest form of prayer, that we call the Eucharist with each other's company as a community of love. Amen.